Hey, welcome to Reddit Reveals. Get comfortable and give this story a chance. And when it's over, tell me in the comments what you would have done differently. The moment I knew something was wrong, my son came home from school and asked me why Mommy and Uncle Chase were wrestling. He was 7, just got off the bus, walked straight into the living room where I was folding laundry, dropped his backpack, and said it like it was nothing. I asked him to repeat it. He did. Said he saw them through the window in the garage. "She had her legs around him, Daddy," he said. But they were just being funny. I didn't say a word, just stood there. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped one of Ellie's socks. My stomach twisted in on itself like I swallowed broken glass. Uncle Chase wasn't her brother. He was her coworker. I'd met him once, maybe twice, at some company picnic 2 summers ago. Big fake smile, gelled hair, tan arms, stupid gold necklace. I didn't like him then. I like him less now. The garage, of all places. That was my space, my tools, my bench, the only room in the house she never cared about. She used to call it my man cave, like it was some joke. Now she's betraying me in it. I didn't confront her that night. I waited. I wanted to see it for myself. So the next day, I took off work without saying a word, dropped the kids at school, parked down the street, walked back, through the neighbor's yard, came up behind the side gate. Quiet. At exactly 10:42 a.m., her car pulled up. 10 minutes later, his did. I watched them go into the garage. Didn't even make it inside the house. I stood there 10 feet away, behind a cracked wooden fence, listening through the wall as my wife moaned for another man in the room where I built our daughter's crib. I didn't kick the door in. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I left. Went home, packed one bag, and waited for her at the kitchen table. She walked in smiling, holding a bag of groceries, like she just came from the farmer's market. She said, "Hey, babe." I stood up, looked her dead in the eye, and said 4 words, "Keep him. I'm done." Then I walked right past her, didn't even look back. She didn't chase me, and that silence told me everything. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Not the kids, not my brother, not my boss. I just walked out that day with the clothes on my back and my phone turned off. I drove until I ran out of ideas. 3 hours south into Kentucky, ended up in some cheap motel off Interstate 65 with peeling wallpaper and a broken vending machine. For the first time in 16 years, I had no one checking on me. No calendar reminders, no, "Hey, can you pick up milk?" texts. Just silence. And for about 4 hours, it felt like peace. Then the guilt kicked in. I pictured my son getting off the bus, asking where I was. I imagined her fake crying to the kids, telling them, "Daddy left us," like I was the villain in some made-for-TV drama. That's how she works. Always the victim. Always spinning the story to make herself look like the one cleaning up the mess I made. So yeah, I turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls. 14 voicemails. 1 from my mom, 2 from my sister. The rest? All her. Texts, too. Long ones, walls of them, a few crying emojis. Classic Rachel. "Where are you? Can we please talk? I don't know what you think you saw, but it's not what it looked like." Then finally, "The kids are scared. Just come home." She knew exactly what I saw. She wasn't even trying to lie well. I ignored every message. Not because I didn't care, but because I knew if I answered her, I'd fall right back into it. The cycle. The begging. The gaslighting. The tears. The makeup closeness she always weaponized. She was a pro at breaking things, just enough so I felt bad fixing them. But this time, I stayed gone. 3 days later, my brother Nate called. I didn't answer at first, but he kept blowing up my phone, so I finally picked up. "You need to come back," he said. She filed a missing persons report. I laughed. I mean, really laughed. She wanted me out, and now she was panicking that I left too hard. I told Nate, "Tell her she can keep the house, the bed, and that clown in the garage. I'm not missing. I'm done." That night, I went home, but not to stay. I went to get my kids. And when she opened the door and saw me standing there, she wasn't crying. She wasn't even scared. She was angry. She opened the door like I was the one who owed her an explanation. Not even a second of surprise. Just a sharp exhale through her nose, arms folded tight across her chest like I'd come back to ruin her day. That same look she used to give the kids when they spilled juice on the carpet. Condescending, controlled, cold. You can't just disappear for 4 days and then show up demanding things, she snapped before I even said a word. I didn't walk in. I didn't smile. I didn't even look past her shoulder to see if he was there. I stayed right on the porch and said, "I'm here for my kids." She blinked. "You think I'm letting you just take them? They're my kids too, Rachel," I said, stepping closer. "And I'm not asking." She blocked the doorway with her body like that was going to stop me. 5'4" in a robe and slippers, standing like a nightclub bouncer. "I don't know what your problem is," she said, "but if you think this little tantrum of yours is going to fix anything," I cut her off. "Don't gaslight me." Chase's jacket, your legs around him, the garage. My son saw it, Rachel. She flinched. It was quick, but I saw it. "Nothing happened in the garage," she said, lowering her voice. "He was helping me move some boxes, and I tripped." That's what Caleb saw. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." "Boxes. Right." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "You tripped. With your pants off?" Her eyes narrowed. She didn't answer. I pushed past her, and she didn't fight me. The kids were in the living room, frozen, like they'd been coached to stay quiet. Ellie hugged me. Caleb looked scared. I looked back at Rachel, who was now leaning on the counter, arms shaking just enough for me to notice. "You want to lie to yourself. Fine," I said. "But don't you dare drag the kids into it." "I'm not," she snapped. "But what kind of father just walks out like that? You abandoned them." "No," I said, grabbing the overnight bags I packed months ago and stashed in the hall closet. "I left you. There's a difference." She stepped in front of me again, hands out, trying to soften her face, her tone, everything. "Dean, come on. Let's just sit down and talk. Just you and me." I zipped up Caleb's bag and looked her straight in the eye. "There's no more you and me?" Then I picked up my kids and walked out the door. It only took her 3 days to turn into the victim. I hadn't even unpacked fully at my brother Nate's place when the phone started lighting up with messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Friends from high school, her cousin from Cincinnati, even our old church pastor. All of them suddenly concerned about how I was handling the separation. Separation. That was rich. I guess that's what she was calling it now. And so, according to the version she was selling, I'd abandoned the family, had a breakdown, and took the kids without warning. The story kept changing depending on who was listening. In one version, I was having an affair. In another, I was just angry and unstable. She even threw in a, maybe he's drinking again, just to spice it up. Which was funny because I haven't touched a drop in almost 4 years. I tried to ignore it at first. I told Nate not to engage. I told my sister to stay out of it. But when I got a call from the school counselor asking if there were any domestic safety concerns, I knew exactly what was happening. Rachel wasn't just lying. She was laying the groundwork for a custody fight. So I got a lawyer. Not because I wanted to drag her through the mud, but because I knew she was already halfway through building her little pity parade, and I wasn't about to let her paint me as the bad guy, while Chase got to keep sleeping in my bed. The lawyer wasn't cheap. But she was sharp. Told me right away to start documenting everything. Screenshots, voicemails, texts, my son's accidental confession, even the fact that she filed a missing persons report on me, despite texting me nonstop the whole time. She said, "This woman's already preparing to twist the narrative. We need to be 10 steps ahead." And she was right. That night, I finally checked Rachel's Instagram for the first time since I left. She'd posted a picture of her and Chase at a coworker barbecue. All smiles, no tags, no location, just the caption, "Thankful for people who show up when it counts." That was the moment it clicked. She wasn't just lying. She was training people to side with her, lining up her audience, pretending to be the heartbroken wife while slowly slipping this guy into our lives like it was normal. But she had no idea I'd already planned my next move. The following morning, I went back to the house, alone. I showed up at the house just after noon. I knew she'd be home. Her little remote work schedule was always predictable. Lunch break, around 12:30, yoga mat out by 1, then a conveniently flexible block of calls until school pickup. I parked 2 houses down and walked the rest of the way. I didn't knock. I used my key because I still legally live there and because I wanted her to feel what I felt. Ambushed, exposed, cornered. She was in the kitchen, barefoot in leggings, mixing something in a blender like she hadn't spent the last week trying to erase me from my own life. She turned, startled. "Dean, what are you doing here?" I closed the door behind me and held up my phone. "I brought proof." She rolled her eyes. "Dean, come on. We've been over this." "No," I said, stepping forward. "You talked. I'm done talking. Now you're going to listen." I laid it all out on the counter, printed screenshots of texts, timestamps, voice messages, even Caleb's innocent little drawing from school. A stick figure, family, with an extra tall man standing next to Mommy in the garage. I'd laughed when I first saw it, thinking it was a teacher or neighbor. Now I saw it for what it was. Truth from someone too young to lie. Rachel stared at it all in silence. Her face didn't twist in guilt. It didn't even flinch. That scared me more than anything. Finally, she said, "This is ridiculous." "Is it?" I snapped. "Because if I was the one sneaking someone into the house while you were at work, and our son caught me, you'd have me in court so fast my feet wouldn't hit the floor." She crossed her arms. "So what? You came here to shame me? To gloat? What's the end game, Dean?" "The end game," I said, "is me keeping custody of my kids and making sure they don't grow up thinking this kind of betrayal is normal." She scoffed. "You can't even afford to live on your own." I smiled. "Good thing I don't plan to be alone." Her face dropped. She thought I'd come crawling back with guilt. She thought I'd lose my mind without her. Instead, I picked up the folder of evidence, looked her right in the eye, and said, "You wanted a fight, Rachel. You got one." Then I walked out. Again. I didn't want to take it public. I really didn't. But when I found out she told her entire family that I kidnapped the kids and was emotionally unstable, I realized this wasn't about heartbreak anymore. She wasn't trying to save our marriage. She was trying to bury me. So I stopped playing nice. I posted everything. Not out of revenge, but because I was sick of defending myself behind closed doors. I wrote a straight-up account on Facebook with dates, facts, and zero emotional fluff. I posted screenshots, blurred where I had to for the kids, but made sure the truth was plain and ugly. No name-calling. Just cold, honest detail. I ended it with one line. She thought I'd never walk away. I did, and I'm not looking back. Within 3 hours, it had over 300 shares. My inbox blew up. People I hadn't heard from in years messaged me things like, "I always knew something was off about her," or, "Man, I'm so sorry, but good for you. Some were fake supportive, sure, but most were real. I think they saw a bit of themselves in it. People who stayed too long, hoped too hard, got burned too deep. Then came the one message that changed everything. It was from a guy named Kenny. I didn't know him personally, but we had mutuals. His message was short. Hey man, I used to work with Rachel. I think you should know, Chase isn't the only one. I stared at that screen for a long minute before I replied, What do you mean? He sent back a screenshot, an old one. Rachel and some guy I didn't recognize at a concert in Louisville last year. Way too close. Arms around each other, and the caption on her private story, Best work trip ever. Quick pause. Tell us in the comments what you would have done if you got a message like that. I felt the heat rise up my neck. This wasn't just one mistake. This was a pattern. She wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she got caught. And if this Kenny guy knew about it, chances are a few others did too. While I was home doing homework with the kids, she was out testing how far she could push the lie without breaking it. I sent Kenny my number. We talked on the phone for 20 minutes. He didn't hold back. Apparently, Rachel had a reputation at work. Married, sure, but emotionally open, as she put it. And Chase? He was just the most recent. That night, I hired a second lawyer. This wasn't just a divorce anymore. Now it was war. By the end of that week, Rachel's perfect little version of events had completely fallen apart. Turns out, Kenny wasn't the only one with a story. Once my post started making rounds, a few more people reached out, quietly at first. A former co-worker of hers messaged me that Rachel had been flirty to the point of uncomfortable at a company retreat 2 years ago. Another guy, someone she dated before me, sent me a heads up that she'd pulled this same emotional abuse line on him after he caught her cheating. She had a playbook, and I'd just never seen the full thing until now. Then came the best part. Her little gym boy, Chase, he broke up with her. I didn't even have to do anything. Word got back to him that she'd been with other guys before him, and apparently that broke the fantasy. According to one of his friends, who screenshotted their group chat, he called her deeply manipulative and said he felt like just another guy on her list. She'd lost me, lost her side guy, and now her narrative was slipping right through her fingers. So what does someone like Rachel do when they lose control? She doubles down. She showed up at Nate's house. No call, no warning. Just pulled into the driveway in her shiny white SUV, like we were still living in the same fantasy, where I opened doors for her and bit my tongue to keep the peace. I was outside. Raking leaves with Caleb, I saw her step out in sunglasses, no makeup, messy bun, the frazzled mom look. A performance, like always. Can we talk? She asked, barely glancing at our son. No, I said. You can talk to my lawyer. She sighed, took a step closer, dropped her voice like she thought we were in a soap opera. Dean, this is getting out of hand. You're poisoning people against me. Our kids are confused. Do you really want this to turn ugly? I put down the rake and stared at her. It's already ugly, Rachel. I'm just not pretending anymore. Her lips tightened, but she didn't argue. Instead, she crouched down, gave Caleb the fakest hug I've ever seen, and told him she missed him. He didn't hug her back. He just stood there, stiff, eyes darting at me. She got back in her car without saying another word. The next day, I filed for full custody. The day we went to court, Rachel showed up like she was auditioning for a feel-good courtroom drama. White blouse, soft curls, no jewelry. She even brought her mom for backup, sitting in the front row looking like a wounded angel. The same woman who used to glare at me during Thanksgiving if I didn't offer to wash dishes like I was applying for Husband of the Year. But none of it worked. I had receipts, dates, testimony, witnesses, even a printout from her private story, the one she accidentally left public for a day, where she posted a meme that said, "Marriage is a scam unless you both cheat equally." My lawyer slid it across the table to the judge without even blinking. Rachel tried to paint me as controlling, said I had anger problems, that I was impulsive and emotionally distant. But when my lawyer pulled up call logs showing her calling me 38 times in one night after I left, that narrative crumbled fast. The judge didn't smile, didn't raise his voice, just read the facts. And then he looked Rachel in the eye and said, "You've shown a clear pattern of dishonesty, instability, and prioritizing personal relationships over your children's well-being." He granted me primary custody that day. She got visitation every other weekend, supervised until further review. The look on her face when she realized she'd lost everything. That was the moment consequences finally landed. And let me be clear, I didn't celebrate in the courtroom. I didn't fist pump or smirk. But when I walked past her and she refused to look at me, I smiled. Because I knew I'd taken my life back. 2 months later, she moved into a 2-bedroom apartment across town. Chase? Long gone. Word is he's dating someone younger now. And Rachel's been posting fake happy selfies with wine glasses and inspirational captions like, "Healing isn't linear. Meanwhile, I'm rebuilding. I've got my own place now. Nothing fancy, but the kids laugh more here. Caleb started sleeping through the night again. Ellie made me a Father's Day card that said, 'You're my safe place.' That one nearly broke me. Last week, Rachel asked if we could maybe sit down and talk someday. I left it on red. Because here's the truth. She thought I'd never walk away. She thought she could cheat, lie, twist the story, and I'd still be the same dumb husband holding it all together. She was wrong. I walked, and I did not go back. Did Rachel get what she deserved, or should Dean have gone further? Drop your final thoughts in the comments. If you've made it this far, like and subscribe. We've got more stories coming soon.